Good night and welcome to Mindful Life 381. I am Nathan Springer, your co-host. There's another host, really and truly. I just hold it down for the host while she does whatever she pleases during the given moment. But thank you for being here. It is currently the 17th of April in the year of our Lord 2024. Yep, the year is moving along, and welcome. Make sure you hit that like button if you are viewing this live on TikTok or live on YouTube. Double tap the screen over there on TikTok. If you're wondering how to hit the like button, well, that's how you do it. You double tap the screen real quick, and you can do it over and over again and get those likes pumping. Really get those likes going up there. You know, it really helps with the algorithm, allowing the algorithm to know, hey, send the notification out to many people because this is some good stuff. People like it. So jump in, people, hit that like button, and let's get started with some of the stories for the day, some of the news and the occurrences. Primarily today, what are we talking about today? There are, as always, there are many things to talk about in the news. Primarily jumping up in the news seems to be Dr. Rowley's travel bill, his travel expenses. There are many questions about it because it's reportedly something like 10 million going up there, and people are wondering what are the benefits we are getting for paying all of this. Are we just paying for him to see the world and express his wanderlust, or is there something tangible? There are also some questions that came up when the revelation was made about how much the NGC chairman makes, because the chairman at NGC also makes a hefty sum, and in travel bonuses too, plus the travel bonuses, money is being raked in. And you know, there are some interesting questions to ask when it comes to these companies like NGC, because NGC functions within the market, within the free market as it were, but it's a state-owned company. So okay, someone at the head of that company is supposed to be remunerated, especially when you're considering this is a for-profit company. Well, they should be remunerated as such, but when you consider it's a state-run company, questions get a bit dicey also. What other stories we have up there? Ooh, they dive in a bit into the rituals going on at Massey. We could dive into some of that. The actual some first-hand accounts of what those rituals were occurring at the reported necromancy. Opposition leader questions EBC political bacchanal. Well, the opposition leader is in a bit of a pickle with some of her MPs seeming to be revolting, but the opposition leader is saying, you know, don't take a kindness for weakness, and also questioning a change they made with some names concerning certain constituencies. Abu Friday says he can win if APAC owns him as well. If you know how I despise this Israel-Palestine rhetoric, to be frank with you all, I despise the story because it has become a side-based thing, and the exaggerations and attempts to guilt trip people into lacking humanity or being callous based on what they view this. It's tedious. It really is tedious. And everything in the world, to the people obsessed with this, every single bit of news in the world is really a secret something circling all the way back to the Levant. I'm fed up. BP is seeking authorization to develop Manatee. Good evening, Curvon. People need to remember the PM travels with his security as well as others. Yes, and I think that's part of the problem that some people have. I don't deny that though, Abu Friday. I do not deny that. But I'm just saying it gets tedious. Yes, the PM travels with a lot of people. Good night, Mark Small. And that does balloon the travel. But then in that case, you might ask, does it then behoove him to select those travels more carefully? Would that make sense? If you know that your travel caravan is an expensive one. Dane Khan says, I wonder if he does travel with hairdresser like Cam's. You're jumping into the story. I wanted to talk about some of that. I wanted to see how good our memories are when there was conversation about Tanti Cams and her travels and the helicopter ride up and down Trinidad, and whether she should be able to have her sister along for the ride, etc., etc. Dalip Jairam says, heard that the video with the beating of the man in Cora who eventually died is out. Have you seen it? Oh, so that's what that video was? I saw a video with somebody being beaten in the middle of the road. I don't know if that's that video. Yes, Daniel Knights, precisely that. Mark Small, you can inbox me. You can inbox me. Once you message me, I'll approve that message. Don't worry. And you can message me anywhere else. If you don't get through it, the message on TikTok. I am also on Instagram. I'm also on X, formerly Twitter. I'm also on Facebook. You can get me. Don't worry. Message me and I do reply. Dane Khan says, well, to keep his head bald, his barber cost is expensive. You feel he goes to the barber for that one? You feel he goes to the barber? I remember as a young fella sitting in the barber saloon, watching elderly men come to this barber shop to get a bald head. And I'd say to myself, I have no idea why. Why are you here, uncle? Uncle, you're making the line longer. I want a fade. I want a fade. I need a fade. You could use a shaver. Buy some shaving cream, get some nice shavers, and do it, uncle. But hey, I reaching the point in life where the hair begins to thin also, and I wouldn't mind visiting a barber every now and again without the young men out there begrudging me. So Loudy ball head. One of my uncles like that. Hey, I have seen it, and I feel the barber knows what the men want. The barber understands these men just want the barbering experience. Because tell me how this barber taking half hour to do a bald head. Like, I wouldn't call your name barber. Barber, you're my barber. You know you're my barber. We good. Still my barber. Over a decade, still my barber. But I don't understand how he takes a half hour to do a bald head. How you have to do a level 1 and then do basically a height up and then take up. Listen, let me get into the news, yes? Let me get into the news. Not everyone's skin can take the razors. Good point, Abu Friday. Good point. And if you have a bald head, you already might be sensitive about that. What would compound the sensitivities if your bald head get bumpy? Oh, jeez. That will hurt. Okay, Moisture, appreciate it. I see you. Good night. So, yeah, there are many stories to jump in. What else is there? What else is there out there? Oh, you all saw and I saw this murder and it was very curious. My son is his mom and he does laugh. It was very curious. A man who was a former school driver, etc., was murdered in Arima in the early of the morning. Very suspicious. Allegedly, it may have been an officer who fired the shot. That's a story. That's a very interesting story. Then there are some of the cases that the PCA are bringing forward. All right, let's see if we could jump in more specific into some of these stories here. Appreciated Hex Senpai. Scandalous trips. Munilal slams PM's $10 million travel bill. Whopping $0.8 million for Washington visit. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley's 5-day trip to the United States to hold meetings with high-level officials from January 28 to February 2024 cost taxpayers $818,000, $818,262,097. And Arapuch East MP Dr. Rudal Munilal said yesterday he intends to file questions on the PM's trip to ascertain the delegation, what meetings were attended, who invited them, the agenda, and outcomes of the meetings. The figure was revealed by the Office of the Prime Minister in response to a written question filed by Munilal, who asked how many times the Prime Minister traveled overseas between September 2020 and February 29, 2024, and the cost of each trip inclusive of hotel accommodation, meals, ground transport for the Prime Minister and his entourage and other related expenses. The written response revealed that 10.6 million was spent on 19 official trips taken by the Prime Minister in a 40-month period. Hi, Abu. Abu, what are you trying to get me to read there, sir? Are these things corroborated? Do you have evidence of such things, sir? What mansions are you speaking about, sir? What are you talking about? Munilal also questioned whether the Prime Minister's trip in May 2023 to receive his honorary Doctor of Letters degree from Howard University should have been paid for by the taxpayers. It's all very nice for the Prime Minister to get a degree, but you should pay for that trip privately, he said. The Prime Minister went in May 2023 for what was effectively about a 6-day trip to the United States, which cost $400,000. And listen. I understand that the job comes with perks. I don't begrudge people their perks. But you must understand there are questions to be asked about a $400,000 trip to go collect an honorary degree. That's something personal. That really isn't country business. But at the same time, someone who is currently our Prime Minister, it's not... Would we want it to be that they go traveling about the place and private business as a private regular citizen? Is that something that as a country we would want? Like, there are questions, and maybe we could have a discussion. Hear the discussion on these things. Hear the for and against. Hear why the Prime Minister believes that a trip to collect an honorary degree should be part of his official duties and paid for by taxpayers. Maybe he has a good reason. Maybe the explanation is sound. I don't know. But as it stands, I'm kind of leaning on the side of I don't get it. Woy Nisi, woy to the woy. This is an interesting one. The Arapuch MP went into another one when the Prime Minister went to Guyana for the Energy Conference and Expo. Between February 18th and 24. The trip cost $452,000 basically. Munilal said he raised the fact that after the International Energy Conference and Expo ended, the Prime Minister was, these are the words used by Mr. Munilal, was loitering in Guyana for a number of days before the start of the CARICOM meeting. He was on a tourist trip to Guyana. In fact, this is quoting Mr. Dr. Munilal. In fact, it was a very weird development where President Irfan Ali was in St. Vincent. So you had this rare development where a visiting head of government was in the country where the existing head of government had left, Munilal said. And these are good questions. As the leader of the country, it is on you to not bad spend our money. If you, as the leader of the country, stand on the pulpits that the country provide you and say things like, these are trying times, tighten belts, and we must increase taxes because the government's largesse isn't infinite. You know, Dr. Rowley likes words like that. The government, there's only so much that can be used out of the government's largesse. If you tell us things like this, you're talking about property taxes for people who have never left Trinidad and Tobago. They have never gone on a vacation in their life. And you're saying that the government requires more resources to do the duties of the government. And then inside the duties of the government, you include your $400,000 trips. And people right to ask some questions there. You know, the sad thing is the nature of our system. There really isn't much we could do about that. The Prime Minister could whine in your face, proverbially, on those trips, and really and truly, what are you going to do? Hope that he stops. And he doesn't even need to care, because very likely the next election is already wrapped up too. And it seems like he doesn't care much about it. Somebody broke it down and it worked out to how much per month? Something like nearly $300,000 per month in foreign travel. Every month, as a country, we pay $300,000 for our Prime Minister to travel. Does that seem acceptable? That seems a bit much. It does seem a bit much. The Prime Minister's salary is what? 60 something? I'm not sure. Somewhere up there per month? How are you going to tell me? 64, right. How are you going to tell me that your travel per month is going to be 5 times your salary? Like, doesn't that seem strange? Your job is not a flight attendant. You are not the national flight attendant. You are not the Minister of Tourism. You are not the Minister of Foreign Affairs. You are not the Grand Ambassador. How is your travel expense 5 times your salary per month? Behave like they had a vision. Like, granted, there were some sketchy things with the whole Pena and the church, and I have no idea about all of that. But people were upset about the diplomatic center. I think time has told that that was a good decision. Does the diplomatic center seem out of place for a Prime Minister's official residence now? I mean, people spoke about it back then, but now, does it seem like something so exorbitantly strange? No, actually, it does not. He spoke about acquiring use of a chartered jet. Who owns a private island, human? He spoke about having access to a jet. Maybe that might have made sense. What would be the cost to upkeep a private aircraft? Would it be less than $300,000 a month? Would upkeeping the aircraft be less than $300,000 a month? If it would be less than $300,000 a month, then to me it's a no-brainer. To me, that seems like a no-brainer. And so often the government does things like this, where they would rent something for more than the price to build the building. The price the government is paying in rent, they could afford to hire a building team, a construction team, and have them building buildings every day, all day for the next 50 years. But they will not build the building. They would give it to someone in rent. They would have an attorney general's office with a Solicitor General's office, all with hired lawyers, a whole cadre of young lawyers all about the place looking for better work. But no. Let's not hire those lawyers. We'll contract that out. We'll give briefs to other lawyers, outside lawyers for those things. Abu Friday says, but look at this, Cal making good money from the state. Cal is not making good money from the state. That's like drinking your urine and saying you're satisfying your thirst. I remember the word megalomaniac. It was plastered all over. Dalip says it said that politicians are the root causes of our problems when they are supposed to solve it. Dane Khan says Kamala would have vomit down the price. Oh geez. Don't make me read that now, boy. Oh gosh. I heard some rumors about certain things there. Why build when they can rent from friends? And Nisi, Daniel Knight says they are building the buildings now. Ministry of Health, Ministry of AGLE, Finance and Social Development. Yeah, and I'm glad. And I'd have given Mr. Manning some props for that. He was attempting to build that government campus in Port of Spain there. That makes sense. And I mean, how is this a problem that we are only now trying to solve in 2024? We have been independent since what? 62? How is it that it's only now a problem we're trying to solve? Is it only we now figured it out? Thank you, Anil Pancham. Friends have to eat too. Correct, Nisi. Correct. I mean, how else would people remain in their millionaire status? How else would people be millionaires if you don't give the money to them from the government? And what was the outcome when he was going to take away rent from the big boys? Hey. Anyway, though, Dr. Munilal says he even has more questions, but here's the problem. Dr. Rowley says he's not going to answer him. In response to Munilal's criticisms, Rowley said, I am not prepared to respond to anything Dr. Munilal has to say about taxpayers' money until he complies with the court order and put in his defense in the EMBD matter, where millions of taxpayers' dollars are yet to be accounted for. In February, a group of contractors filed an application for conditional leave to appeal to the Privy Council after failing to have a multi-million-dollar cartel case brought against them by the EMBD struck out. At a status hearing of the claim, which also includes former EMBD officials and former Housing Minister Munilal, on February 21st, attorneys for the contractors said they had not yet received a date for the hearing of the conditional leave application. So there are allegations about corruption that are floating around on Dr. Munilal himself. There are allegations about his corrupt dealings. But here's the thing for me. I don't think the alleged corruption of Dr. Munilal is a get out of jail free card for you not answering allegations of your bad spending. Like, how does that work? How does that work? Like, I understand what you're saying about if someone has, what's the word they like to talk about regularly? You hear this the term bandied about in politics. Who has the moral authority? Well, here's the thing. None of you have the moral authority. But that starts to seem mighty convenient to me. Because you're allegedly corrupt, and you're allegedly corrupt, and the alleged corruption of both of you are being used so that we can't talk about the corruption from both of you. Does that make sense? You're saying he's corrupt, he's saying you're corrupt, and the reason we can't say either of you are corrupt is because the other one is corrupt. So you can't talk about my corruption because the other one is corrupt. How that makes sense? Take your both corrupt selves and march on out. Like, how is that a reasoning? I disagree with Dr. Rowley here. Like, fine. I don't mind him making this point right now because it might be a pertinent time to make the point that, okay, Dr. Munilal is asking me about my spending, but might it be known that he currently has questions to answer in the courts that he isn't answering? Fine, make that point, but still answer the question because, okay, fine, Dr. Munilal has his question marks, but it isn't his money directly he's talking about. Fireflame says if I ask him, he would probably remind me of the milk and sugar I allegedly stole in 1996. You sure that one is alleged? I am willing to confess it now. I believe it may be past the statute of limitations. I did pilfer occasionally a spoonful of milk and sugar. Occasionally. Dalip Jairam says, has anyone ever heard of meetings between bigwigs where politicians, gangsters, and runners mingle? What kind of question is that? The question seems dangerous. Crude Oil says, Trinbagonian politics, we have our own style here. Yep, Anil, Pancham, they are all corrupted. They have a code among themselves where no minister gets charged or make a jail. Abu says you might get a teacup. Huh. Hyatt meeting, Daniel says. Well, Daniel, our Minister of National Security said as of recently that they do not negotiate with gangsters. That is not part of of their policy. He made that clear. And in his statement, while saying this about them not negotiating with gangsters and etc., the whole gangster talk, he threw out a statement to the UNC that they should ask one of their deputy leaders about gangster talk. I don't know what he's talking about. And again, these things constantly annoy me, you know. What do you mean? You are aware of a UNC minister who's in gangster activity? Why aren't you doing something about it there, sir? Karim Del Peshova on YouTube says, Night folks less concerned with the cost of his travels. I would like to know the benefits to the country with these trips, correct? Definitely agree that it isn't a good look to be spending that amount of money while people complain about the price of living. Exactly. And yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying, Karim, because the trips itself, the trips by themselves might not be an issue. If you spend 300,000 per month on your trips as the Prime Minister, but you can show that those trips bring in more than 300,000 in revenue or some kind of benefit to the country, then fine, travel on, Minister. You be a darling. You fly out in the morning and fly in the evening by all means. But if we are not getting that level of benefit, then the question really has to be asked. It's a cost-benefit analysis, as it were. Daniel Knight says, ask Gary who met with people in Hyatt. Sir, I do not have Gary's personal number. I don't know. Christopher says our Prime Minister also said if you don't have no house, you will not have to pay tax. What you think? I mean, well, yeah, that's what the property tax means. No house, no tax. Do I think that's a good thing or bad thing? If the property tax works perfectly, then that's how it should work. If you have no house, then what is your worry about how we fix the neighborhood? You aren't part of the neighborhood. If you are a renter, well, you pay rent to the landlord, and the landlord is the homeowner, so he would see about that. It makes sense to me. Abu Friday says, lol, there are no gangsters, only businessmen and community leaders. You're right. You're right. What are we talking about? Gangsters. These men are businessmen. They are contractors. Some of them are activists. Political activists, you know. They have other names. Good night, Krimak. Good night, good night. What's going on here? And you know, as we're talking about this oil and gas and salaries and stuff, there was a revelation on the NGC chairman. NGC chairman's hefty fees revealed. The chairman of the National Gas Company receives a hefty sum in board fees and traveling expenses from his chairmanship of 3 A companies and 13 C companies associated with the state-owned company. Energy Minister Stuart Young made this revelation. As a result, the NGC chairman is paid the following fees and allowances. 3 A companies, $10,000 a month per company, and travel allowance of $1,000 per month. 13 C companies, fees $6,500 a month, travel allowance of $1,000 per month. These fees and allowances work out to over $100,000 a month. The current NGC chairman is international project management practitioner Dr. Joseph Ishmael Khan, and the man is very well qualified, very, very well qualified. But interesting. And and this isn't Massey, this is NGC, sorry. This is NGC. And the curious thing for me in questions like this man is very well qualified. The man came, as far as I could tell, from the private sector. He is qualified for the job. But when you're talking about a state company, the normal government considerations obviously are always brought up. How profitable is the company? How much profit are we gaining? Are we making enough money to allow this amount of payment to the man? Like, you see, Abu Friday says those positions are paid at international market prices. Yes, Daniel Knights. All of that is in the article where the man is well qualified. It is said, and you know, sometimes those things are said, but in the conclusion of the matter, you recognize it's not true. But it is said that NGC is seeing good upward movement under his leadership. But I mean, the Caribbean Airlines was donating checks during the partnership tenure, saying that they were seeing upward and positive movement, but they were bussing. So, but this is the curious thing about government being involved. If this was a private company, like wholly private, it's none of our business. Nobody cares. In Parliament, nobody even has to bring it up. Nobody has to ask a question about it. But when the government is part owner of the thing, and if it busts, if money is bad spent, and now they need money to bail them out, the government is coming with the money. We are coming with the money. Well, then we would obviously want to ask questions about how much people are being paid while the thing is running. It's just the difficulty of government inside of the market. That's just the difficulty. I'm not, my comment here isn't saying that his salary isn't deserved. I honestly don't know. I can't tell. I don't have the information to make that determination. But exactly, Daniel Knights. Like, people complaining about the salaries of janitors, and a janitor was making 18,000 or how much ever in Petrotrade, and some people are angry. Like, how dare you say that is a janitor not worth that money? How dare you say a janitor shouldn't make that money? It's not about whether the janitor should or shouldn't make that money in a vacuum. It's looking at the company, at the profitability of the company, and the fact that when the company loses money, we all lose money. Then obviously I'm going to look at your salary. Abu Friday says, let me ask you a question. Was Gary's salary worth it? Did we get value for tax money? What do you mean? What do you mean as a commissioner of police? What's the question there? Like, is the option that we have no commissioner of police? Because the option with something like these private companies is the government not be involved in private companies. But what's the, I don't know, value for money from the police commissioner? Did we get value for money from any of the police commissioners for that matter? So I'm not sure what you're asking there. All right, on to Massey. bizarre rituals and spiritual practices inside the Delphi program. While Massey Holdings, in a statement issued on December 20th, categorically denied that its leadership program hosted by Delphi Sphere Consulting trained its employees to communicate with the dead or heal with white light, transcriptions from training sessions obtained by Express Business tell a different story. Former Massey executive Angelique Parisot-Potter raised the allegations of bizarre rituals in the conglomerate's leadership training, which she said were also a drain on foreign exchange. Founder of Delphi Sphere Consulting, Paul Dominguez, stated during a training session that he was one of the top people in the energy field. And he does not mean gas and oil. He's one of the top people in the energy field. And one of the top 5 people in the world in the transformational field. Delphi had been delivering the program for over 17 years and had conducted as many as 6 programs a year, he said. Indira Dial Dominguez, who jointly runs Delphi Sphere Consulting, told attendees that the program is about the mind and training it to be released. Now, this whole story is weird. And another reason, linking this as it were to the NGC story, part of the reason that this Massey story would be something on the radar for the country is because the state, through one of the state holding companies, what is it, NES? One of them, I believe, owns a significant portion of Massey. Is a significant investor. I think the majority investor. It's the majority investor, I believe, the state. The majority single investor. So the questions are pertinent countrywide. I was wondering, like, when I read this case, where did Massey pick up this group from? Where did Massey reach this Delphi Sphere consultancy group from? This group is in Miami. Where did they get this introduction from? The man's name is Paul Dominguez. He seems like he is Latino from somewhere. But then I saw the man's wife, and her name is Indira Dial Dominguez. And I don't know, but it feels like there may be a link there. Let's go on. According to a transcript of one of the programs, in an apparent answer as to why she was attending the program, Parisot-Potter said, Gervais has been asking me to do this for 6 years, and I am now here. So I think, and I trust my boss. She, however, expressed her frustration, saying, and I'm being forced to do it, you know, and there's no path for me to get out of it. Because if I go to Gervais, he's just going to say you're not trying too hard enough. And they are going to say she's not trying hard enough. You know, it's not like I can win. I just cannot win. And it's not even like I can go there and pretend. Because how do I pretend with this shite? That's what I'm quoting the lady here. She didn't have the E on the word. She said, how can I pretend with this French? How do I close my eyes and do what? And say what? Tanti Potter was frustrated. How do I pretend? What am I supposed to be doing here? What am I pretending to do? What am I supposed to say? It does wide leather. Listen as it goes in. After some back and forth with Dominguez, Parisot-Potter continued to express the frustration, saying, this is craziness. My heart rate is like this because I'm just so angry and resentful that I have to sit listening to this shit. And he's talking to me like I'm 5, you know. Dominguez boasted that he had studied the mind for over 3 decades. And he went on to talk about the vibrational tone and energies Dial Dominguez, that's the wife, Dial Dominguez, addressed the issue of illusions that keep the mind being untouchable, saying happenings are a series of you all see, tell me if this paragraph makes sense to you. Tell me if this makes sense. let me see if I could see it in my most serene tone. Happenings are a series of events that span time, that are designed to open up new doorways and directions so that your intentions and the company's purpose can be realized. Happenings contain both karmic and journey energy. I won't reply on that, Daniel Knight. I'll just say I was repeating the surname purposefully. She recommended that Parisot Potter declare being in the executive program a happening. Most of these business play with science, especially colors. They use how they lay out things. I know that, Abu Friday. They talk about colors and which color causes which thing and all of that. I know that. But this is a bit more than just, as Dalip Jairam says, this is high science. This isn't the kind of science you learn in integrated science or in biology, physics, chemistry kind of thing. This is science of maybe more Scientology. She recommended that Parisot Potter declare being in the executive program happening. Parisot Potter responded, sure. Tanti Potter looked like she have some attitude, eh? Tanti Potter looked like she had some attitude too. Yeah, I heard that wide letter. Dominguez said that the way people operate in Massey is almost totally from the mind. But the organization was one of the few companies stepping out of that paradigm. This may be the moment in time where you get to take back your life instead of the mind using your life, because essentially the mind is using your life when you're operating from the mind. You are its puppet. Just remember, it has had control all the way up until 9 months ago. And it's interesting. It's becoming more and more evident, especially at Massey, you know, how this conversation is unfolding for the success of the business and the success of the people, he said. Dominguez said that there's a need to let go of logic. Listen. Anybody tell me let go of logic, I think I'm ready to stop. Whatever it is, I think I'm ready to stop. What do you mean let go of logic? So, what comes next? If you tell me let go of logic, my assumption is naturally, what comes next is not going to make sense. That's my assumption. That is my assumption. If you tell me let go of logic, I am assuming what comes next is not going to make sense. And I want no part of it. And you are right, Aaron Hamilton. People have different beliefs, but that isn't it. Yes, and I hope if maybe there are some people who are believers in the Dominguez way of life and spirituality. If you are inside of the life here, I mean no insult, I mean no offense. But when you're talking about using company money, foreign exchange, because the lady complained about this, because to engage in this, from the tenor and tone of this, I feel there are spiritual leaders in Trinidad could have given you the same thing. I mean, Trinidad, we have, if you're looking for eccentric spirituality, Trinidad is filled with it, you know. If you're looking for con men in spirituality, what better place to go than Trinidad? If you want to get conned out of money while feeling spiritual, Trinidad is the perfect place to go. You didn't need to go quite Miami to get that done. No. I know a man down the road by me. In fact, in every village there are a few men. White Leather says it have rastas smoking on the corner could have given you the same thing. Facts. Talib Jairam says it have Trinis that will rub you blind. Danielle says they could have gone to the S. Ooh! Danielle, don't make me read that. Or they could have gone to is the Pena Church still open, Danielle? We have spy pastors. Abu Friday says, watch now. I used to work in a certain place and it's hot pepper over the door. I don't know why. Abu, I don't doubt it. Because when you're in the know, you find out a lot of those things. People have unique beliefs, you know. And having money doesn't insulate you away from having eccentric out there beliefs. Many people who are the Church of Scientology prays specifically on rich people. So, I mean, Dominguez said that there's a need to let go of logic and urge taking a deep breath while picturing a white light. You trying to kill me? You trying to kill me? I am convinced this is an assassination attempt. How you mean? Let go of logic, take a deep breath, and go towards the white light. This sounds like a murder attempt. And Aaron Hamilton, you know, it's alleged that drink the Kool-Aid statement came from is Jim Jones was the one down in Guyana. So this was Jim Jones right before he stirred up the vat with all the cyanide and Kool-Aid. Everyone, let go of logic. Take a deep breath. Take a gulp of the drink and go towards the white light. If Jim Jones knew then what we know now, he could have changed from that whole suicidal cult business and made a business model. Abu Friday says, go to the light. They're trying to switch souls or something. What's that? You know, Abu Friday, as you talk about the switching souls part, here's what comes after the white light. Listen. Take a deep breath and imagine as you breathe in, there's white light coming into your body. As you breathe into that spot, just imagine the light coming in and the mind going quiet. And begin to allow yourself to experience the energy of what's right there. In that spot, on the other side of that veil. Like, sir, I don't want to know what's on the other. Like, basically, every time people talk about the other side of that veil, is stuff you don't want to find out. Like, the only thing on the other side of a veil I might want to know about is God. And God tell me, pray. So I don't know about this inhalation and deep breath and white light. Let me pray and talk to God now, brother. Brother, what happened to the Our Father? Like even tell me that okay, we have a Hindu mode of thing here. We're going to go to a bhajan. Okay, at least I know a bhajan. Even if I'm not a Hindu, I understand this is a bhajan. It's a prayer. What you talking about here, uncle? The other side of the veil. This sounds like a horror. This is the beginning of a horror movie. Uncle, sorry, uncle, I want no part. Yes, so you went on and begin to allow yourself to experience the energy of what's right there in that spot on the other side of that veil. It is distinctly different. It is the life force called Angelique, he said. As you exhale, just release it all. As you inhale, just bring light into your body. Just imagine white light coming in. Now let this question resonate in the space and listen for what arises. What is there for me to know in unfolding my journey of where I am now? Dominguez said. Dominguez then clarified that the training is not religious, but spiritual. Trust that the universe is always guiding you on the path to fulfill your journey. That one sounds like a any one of you all want Tumblr? Any one of you all want Tumblr? That part sounds like a Tumblr quote. Amir says he go tell me draw a pentagram and we just with goat blood next. I hope not. Dallas says it have a place up by me on weekends is only Range, Benz, Prado and other high-end vehicles parked up. Facts. Who own Massey? The government. It's a publicly owned company. It has public shares and the government owns the majority. But that line sounds like a Tumblr quote. I feel confidently back in the days some little emo teen wrote that one. Some little emo teen trying not, there was a fad at a point in time where everybody was universing. Like nobody wanted to say God anymore. The statement they were trying to say was literally God. They meant God. The word they were trying to say was God. But they were trying, from about 2016 to 2020, everybody on the dock were doing the duck face and trying to universe everything out there. Trust that the universe is always guiding you on the path to fulfill your journey. Like, Jupiter, Saturn, and those guys out there are somehow they're planning together to work your path into what you want. This is the tough thing, he said. If you look at the background of how the mind is organized, the mind doesn't trust anything, including you. So if you could begin to trust that everything is unfolding your journey, that the universe, the world is working with you and partnering with you, the only thing you have to do is communicate out in the opening what you're up to and after, he said. He said that the participants can experience energy beyond the physical form. So when you're ready, you can close your eyes and just take a deep breath and then focus on that spot off the bridge of your nose, right here, so I presume, right about here. And as you breathe into that spot, just relax. With each breath, let go of any mind concerns, anything the mind has to say, and experience the energy of you. As you breathe into that spot, with each breath, just experience that there is something there. Okay, the next one we're going to do is we're going to give you a chance to experience the energy of each person in the room. So you move to your right and just experience the person to your right's energy. And then we're going to keep expanding it. Notice whatever you notice. You might notice colors. You might notice light. Whatever you notice, notice. But the key is to be able to hold the energy. Okay, so when you're ready, close your eyes. So the next connection to the new person. So you're going to connect to the person that has passed. So bring that person to mind, and you're going to have an opportunity to just be in dialogue with that person and just listen. So when you're ready, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and bring into this space the energy of that person. They're not in their physical form anymore, but their energy can be brought as present as yours. As you breathe, just allow their energy to be in this space. Experience that you can actually experience the vibrational energy of that person. You might have memories that come up. That's fine. And look and see for yourself if there's any question that you have for them or anything you'd like to know. You can ask that question or anything you'd like to know and just listen. Bro, this is a seance. This is a seance. You're literally... When Massey said it had no communicating with the dead and stuff, I thought, well, the necromancy business was an exaggeration. Listen. by very definition, what we just read there is by very definition necromancy. You are attempting to communicate with the dead. Hey, listen. Dean Khan says Mother Cornhucks would be proud. No, I disagree. Sorry, I disagree. Mother Cornhucks wouldn't be proud. Mother Cornhucks, I think, would be sorely disappointed that Trinidadians had to go all the way Miami to get work done. I mean, all they had to do was find the Obia man that Shadow sang about. Take some cokie broom and save us the US dollars. You could pay the local Obia man in Trinidad currency so we don't lose the forex. I sure whoever Mother Cornhucks proteges are taking TT dollars. And people talk about Lekoto. I'm sure if you go up Lekoto and you get somebody to do the work for you, they taking TT dollars. So I mean, White Leather says support local. I mean, if is that level of dalliance you want, take the whole Massey senior executive team up to Lekoto and do your thing. Do your thing. I sure they would have hit you some cookie. In fact, you might say that there might be some geographical benefit to it. You see, at least the local Obia men, they have a specific understanding of the local conditions that they have to deal with. Like, how are you going to have a Miami necromancer tell you how to speak to a dead Trini? They might not even understand your Trini grandparent when they come with their Trini accent. But if you went to a local necromancer and your nanny come back, he could understand what your nanny say. Gervais is from Tobago, eh? Dean Khan? For real? Is he? Okay. It's just interesting. Before all of this hit the fan, Uncle Gerv say, well, I've had enough, folks. Have a good one. Take his millions in bonus, and I'm out. Have a nice one. Bye, people. Uncle Gerv say, I enough all of this fight down. I'm gone. I see. So there may be some connections to the other people that Alan is connected to. Still on it, Torlis. I'm still on it. We'll be dealing with that, if not tomorrow. Well, tomorrow is Thursday. We'll be dealing with that Friday. We'll do an entire thing on that. So, but I am still on it. I'm looking into it. Hey, boy. So, all who look into pharmacy work, boy. So, is it the same board controlling the regional outlets? Regional outlets, as in? I see, Dane. I could connect that. I know how to play that to that. Yes, it would be the same board. But I mean, countries would have their own specific managers and stuff, but the whole conglomerate would be under one board. With elections in the air, politics is rife with bacchanal. Tanti Kams is speaking. Opposition leader questions EBC over renaming of constituencies. Opposition leader Kamla Prasad Bisasa has called into question the integrity of the Elections and Boundaries Commission following the announcement that 5 constituencies would be renamed and there would be alterations to 16 others in the lead up to the 2025 general election. Let me go name the 5 constituencies, because the article named the 5 constituencies at the end. Like, isn't that the most interesting part, kind of way? The 5 constituencies included Aruka Moloney to be renamed Trin City Moloney. That kind of makes sense. Dabadi Omera to be renamed Malabar Mausika. Lopino Bonaire West to be renamed Aruka Lopino. St. Joseph to be renamed Arangwe St. Joseph. And Pointe-à-Pierre to be renamed Claxton Bay. Pointe-à-Pierre is the only constituency among the 5 to be renamed that is represented by the UNC in Parliament. Well, of course, Abu, of course. All the politicians campaigned on Eid. You see, Islam is a religion that has some cohesion in it. Islam, in its foundation, was founded with politics involved. So, modern Christianity has the separation of church and state doctrine. So, you're not supposed to work the church kind of as a voting bloc. You don't generally find that happening. So, but that's not necessarily the same in Islam. There is some political consideration there. So you could understand why. And it's not only in Trinidad. Muslims as a group are campaign to all over the West because they are a group. And politicians love groups. If I could go to one mosque and give a speech wearing a Palestine flag and get all Muslims to vote for me, that would be just perfect. In a response, the EBC said there was no mystery to how and why the seats were adjusted. Posad Bisasa was speaking on Monday night at the UNC Cottage meeting. They have not changed anything else, she said. I think one polling division brought in. That means not even the whole of Claxton Bay. It come from Tabaquite. One polling division changed, but you change your whole seat to call it Claxton Bay. They don't want you to remember the name Pointe-à-Pierre because then you remember the pain and the suffering of the thousands of persons put on the breadline at the Petrochin refinery. Listen. That song's a bit far out. But not too far out, Because let's go back through the list of the 5. I find all 4 of the others seem to make sense. Knowing Trinidad, it has a kind of practicality to it. You change Aruka Moloney to Trin City Moloney because the Aruka Moloney seat was really more Trin City Moloney. Dabadi Omera, you rename it Malabar Mausika. That makes sense. Few people even talk about the location of Omera. You hear more often about Mausika and Malabar. That makes sense. Lopino Bonaire West. You change that to Aruka Lopino. So the Aruka that was previously in the Aruka Moloney, you better place it here as Aruka Lopino. St. Joseph to be renamed Arangwes St. Joseph, to understand that there is more to this than just St. Joseph. But Pointe-à-Pierre renamed to Claxton Bay. No, Daniel Knights, what she's saying here and why I'm giving credence to the conspiratorial nature of this, but why I'm giving credence and what she's saying is not about the workers in specific, but as a campaign tool, as in Pointe-à-Pierre in the Pointe-à-Pierre constituency would always ring familiar with Petrochin, and I agree. Pointe-à-Pierre is closer linked to the refinery. The word Pointe-à-Pierre in my mind, as a Trini, is linked with oil. You see a Pointe-à-Pierre and the first thing pops in my mind is Petrotrin. The Pointe-à-Pierre turnoff on the highway is the Petrotrin turnoff on the highway. So, yes, I agree. I could agree and see that many of the workers may have been paid off. Some of them got back work and all of that. Yeah. I'm not even saying that the closure of Petrochin was wrong. Oh, Trini Hotep, I'm not even saying the closure was a wrong thing. That's not even what I'm saying. I'm saying I could really wonder if this is a move like that. It might make sense. I really wonder. I really wonder. Bury that point of pay name. Let it die with Petrotrin. And now it's all Claxtonby. Let's call it Claxtonby. I find that suspicious. But Tanti Cams is under pressure in her own party. Well, someone have a good speechwriter. Yes, Tanti does. Pare invited to 40 meetings by UNC groups in 6 months. While the UNC was having its regular Monday night meeting in Maruga Tableland, a parallel private meeting of some UNC influencers was held simultaneously at the San Fernando Yacht Club. Among the main speakers at the large gathering of UNC supporters at the Yacht Club were sitting MPs Rushton Pare, Anita Haynes and Rodney Charles, now branded as dissidents, having spoken out on the need for change within the party, starting with the holding of internal elections in June. Where's Dinesh Rambali too? Isn't he one of the dissidents too? Chris Hossain, one of the organizers of the event, speaking at the Yacht Club, told the Newsday that having witnessed the public calls for restructuring of the party and calls for the leader to take her exit, the group was very concerned. San Fernando West is a marginal constituency. It is not a safe seat. We view the UNC as a vehicle for change in the country, and as such, we have decided to be proactive and called a meeting with some of these members, not ostracizing them as seems to be the norm right now. Tonight, we really would like to ensure that our party does not implode and we can have a productive conversation about democracy within the UNC. And where do we go from here? Mayaro MP Pare denied the meeting was signaled. The meeting signaled any intention of a splinter group or breakaway faction or formation of any new political entity with colleagues Dinesh Rambali, Rai Ragbir, and others. Pare, who has been disenchanted with the operation of the party for some time, has expressed an interest in challenging the leadership when that position is up for contest. He said for the past 6 months he had been invited to between 30 and 40 meetings all over the country by UNC members who agreed with him that the party should be recalibrated to adhere to the constitutionally mandated requirement of holding internal elections when due. Pare claims at Sando meeting, half of UNC MPs felt like me. Komoto Manzanilla MP Dr. Rai Ragbir was among those who attended the meeting. Pare told Monday's gathering he was guided to speak about himself. Pare detailed how his national executive call arose. Concerns were raised about non-functioning party organs, outreach to other constituency executives, and some consensus. I'm looking for his direct statement. Pare added, Dr. Rowley and the PNM don't know how to run government, but they know how to win government. We have a problem staying in government as we continue to collapse our party structures. MP Rodney Charles said he supported seamless generational change in TNT's politics, noting he will be 77 when the general election is called. He questioned why people 72, 74, and 75 would struggle to hold on to power and stay in politics to hold back the next generation, and I 100% agree with that. That part of the statement there, Mr. Charles, I agree with you. I think lots of politicians, and that may be a default of what it takes to be a politician in the first place. Politicians like power, so obviously they may have a problem dissociating with the power once they get it. But lots of politicians seem like they are way more interested in holding on to power than in grooming and fashioning the next generation. Looking at some comments online, it's weird. Some UNC people really love KPB and don't mind losing, it seems. Yes, I've said that many times. KPB isn't holding on to the UNC through just some kind of militant power. They love her. There are many people in the UNC that legitimately love her. And it was a campaign that the UNC did. They did a campaign to make Mrs. Prasad Bisesa, the face and feel of the entirety of the UNC. So there are people who know her as the UNC for the last 15 years. 14, 15. So yes, she's widely loved. So I don't actually believe what Mr. Parry is calling for here, the internal elections, and call the internal elections now. I don't necessarily believe that if they call it now, he's going to win. In fact, I think he'd lose. I think he would resoundingly lose. Even though I believe him when he says half of the MPs agree with him. I actually believe him when he says that. I think lots of UNC MPs agree that this UNC isn't headed in the right direction. But I think they may be frightened. They may be frightened that if they only step out of the status quo inside of the UNC, problems. Never ever. Kamala sends warning, never take my kindness for weakness. Tanti Kams says, never ever take my kindness for weakness. That was the repeated strong warning from opposition leader Kamala Prasad Bisesa last night as she spoke at the UNC's Monday report in Maruka. I serve you with notice. Don't say you were never notified, Prasad Bisesa added, without calling names of her detractors. It's interesting they changed it from the forum to the Monday report. I think that was a good change. Daniel Knight says he won't, and Munilal knows that. That's why he stopped fighting her for leadership. Exactly. Abu says, I want Michaela Pandey be a good replacement for her. Yes. Nationally, I think so too. I think Michaela would have more national appeal, but would she have internal UNC appeal? That's another question. Enough to depose Mrs. Prasad Bisesa? Doubt it. Kervon says, and you get a special pension after 2 terms as an MP. I mean, as a prime minister, I think it's 1 term as a prime minister you get that pension. UNC supporters just turned me off when I'm reading their online after election comments, Abu Friday says. Yeah, the comments get nasty. The comments do get nasty. Nature of our political system. Yeah, after 1 term you get that pension. That pension is already booked. She doesn't need a 2nd term for the pension. The 2nd term is for power. She likes the power. Very few politicians go out gracefully. There are very few politicians that leave gracefully. They have to be forced out. They have to see that they will lose the next election. They have to get sick. They have to die. They aren't going to retire on their own. They just are not. And that's sad. Really. Anyway, people, that's all I have for now. Are there any further comments or questions on the inside before I dive out? Kervon says, I was thinking out the incentives for the UNC MPs to remain loyal to the leader. The incentives are simple, Kervon. If you want to remain an MP, you must remain loyal to the leader. The leader selects who runs, basically. So, all of those dissenters are not going up for MP candidacy again. They are not going to get it. And if you are not an MP, then your possibility of power significantly decreases. If she wants to get you loyal and you not MP, you get a temporary Senate post. Yup. And besides just the MP, the opposition has control. There are opposition local government corporations run by the opposition. There's money in those corporations. There are contracts in those corporations. Look how many MPs' families are employed in jobs that are politically linked. and you'd see the benefit of the loyalty. That's the benefit of the loyalty. I will keep saying it. Tanticams need to go home and rest, spend times with the grandchildren, explore the world. I 100% agree with you. I think actually the same thing about Dr. Rowley too. Like, sir, go see about the family and your wifey retire. You and wifey go and play golf and all of that. Forget the bacchanal and thing. Nobody has to worry about who you're whining and thing. You go up the island and live up now. Plant garden like Mr. Pandey. But you know, Nisi, as much as people like Pandey now and spoke about him planting garden and as it were the positives of that, Mr. Pandey had to be chased out too, you know. Quite literally. Quite literally, he had to be chased out. Kevon asks, do you think Amory Brown is next? No. No. I think if we were to pick it on a movie, like a TV show, movie style, Amory Brown would be the best. But the way our politics runs, no, I don't think he's next. I think there are still some old people inside of the PNM that think they missed their turn and they will still like their turn. So I will be legitimately surprised if someone under 50 becomes the next leader. Colm won't win? No, I don't think he would win. But I don't think Colm would be next either. I don't think it would be Colm. But I do think that there would be some old people that would throw their hats in the ring. Them rentals soil his name. I still think Faris, I don't know if he's next, but I am almost sure at some point in time he's going to make a go at it. I think Faris is going to make a go at it. I think Stuart Young is going to make a go at it. They seem like ambitious people. Marvin Gonzalez seems like an interesting figure. He seems an interesting figure. Maybe he does. I have a feeling like that, Daniel Knights. I have a feeling like that too. And as much as it might be interesting to see what that MP from Arima does, I think that won't be ideal. Stuart doesn't have any charisma. Yeah, true. All right, people. If that's all, I would bid you farewell. And I'll see you guys again for the next Mindful Live, which is going to be tomorrow, Thursday. And on Thursday, you know what we do? Thursday Talks. We come in and we talk. Faris is a good campaigner. Yes, he is. Faris have that Iraqi pension blood. Hey. Hey, anyway, why you get me reading these things up? PNM internal elections is in January. We'll see. Yes, we will. I have a niggling feeling that Dr. Rowley isn't going away. Anyway, people, until tomorrow around that 9:30 p.m. time, hold it down. Stay well, stay safe. Peace out. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. This was the Mindful Live. I am Nathan Springer. Bye.